With Rav Ashi. Daf Kov Beis, Ahmed Beis, on top of Ahmed Beis, the third line, on top of Ahmed Beis.
Which one?
The third line on top of Ahmed Beis. So here we have a story like this. We're talking about Menashe. And the three kings that are mentioned in the Mishnah that don't have a chelik in Olam Haba. And so Rav Ashi, Uki Ashloisha Malachim, Rav Ashi ended the shiur just like we ended yesterday, which is up to the sugya of Shloisha Malachim. This is where we ended last night. Omar, and he said, Lamachar, tomorrow we're going to continue the class, we're going to continue the talk, and talk about Niftach B'chavrin. We're going to talk about our friends. Who are our friends? These three kings who don't have a chelik in Olam Haba. So he was very derogatory to them. He basically equated himself with those Malchei Yisrael who were much greater than him in a sense. So Asa Menashe Schazle Bechelme. So Menashe came to Rav Ashi in a dream that night. And Omar, and he said, this is the conversation they had in a dream. Chavrach v'chaveir davuch karislan. You think you and I are friends? You think we're equals? Menashe was one of the kings of the Aseres Shvatim of Yisrael. And Rav Ashi said, we'll talk about our friends. Yeah, we'll learn about our friends that lived much, much earlier. He says, let me ask you a question. You think you're so great? I have a shiur for you. From where do you cut the bread when you make hamoitzi? Which part of the challah do you cut it from? That was his shiur. A random question. We'll see it's not so random. Oh, Avi, Sartzach, how are you? I was going to open the shiur. You weren't here. I was going to say that you should mention the bull that you showed me last night. We're talking about the Eglei Zov, and he said that there's a fourth Egel today, and that's right in front of Wall Street. Where's that?
Yeah.
Right in front of Wall Street.
Egel
There's an Egel Habras, Egel Shal Nechoshes. So we're not as bad as then, but no, just it's really interesting. We're serving Avodah Zarah, money. Wall Street is money. And what's so interesting, as Avi pointed out yesterday after the shiur, that they have a huge Egel statue of a calf, a bull. Right? Is that what it is? Incredible. Anyway, so here we're talking about Rav Ashi dreaming about Menashe. Menashe comes to Rav Ashi in a dream. Omar, and he said, Menashe said to him, Chavracha v'chaveir davuch karislan. You're calling us friends? You think we're equal? Do you know which part of the bread you cut when you make the bracha of hamoitzi? Omar lei lo yedane. I don't know. No, I don't know. Omar lei said to him, Mehecha de boyes lemishra hamoitzi legemirat. You don't even know where to cut the bread from when you make a bracha of hamoitzi. V'chavrach karislan, and you're calling me a friend? So Omar lei, so Rav Ashi said to Menashe, no, you're right. Agmar Ali, teach me the halacha. Right? Where is it from? Well, Lamachar, and if you tell me the halacha, the Rishna, tomorrow I'm going to learn it, I'm going to teach it in your name. And here we are talking about Menashe teaching us this halacha. The karim bishula. From where the bread gets baked the quickest. There's a kadim or karim, but either way, Rashi explains it's either on top or on the bottom or on the sides, but not in the middle. So that's where the bread gets baked the quickest, and that's where you cut the bread when you make the bracha of hamoitzi. Omalei. So we'll talk about in a moment. What connection is the bracha of hamoitzi with Menashe doing avodah zarah? Like, what is going on? Like, it's so hard to find the connection here. And the Yaris Dvash, B'Yanison Eipshit, the Magoli Sayam, there are dozens of pshatim in this Gemara. I'm going to tell you one, which I was blown away by, but before I tell it to you, I'm going to give you the end of the story. Amalei, Rav Ashi said to Menashe in the dream, if you're really so wise and you're such a Talmud Chacham, my time why did you serve Avodah Zarah? See, Rav Ashi couldn't understand. He thought that Avodah Zarah, it's like us. In the times of Rav Ashi, there was no desire for Avodah Zarah, right? He thought it was a tos, that Menashe had a tos, sichli. It was logic. He basically erred in logic. He made a mistake in logic. So he says, here you are so logical when it comes to halacha and where to cut the bread for hamoitzi, but you you missed the point that God is the one we're supposed to serve and not Avodah Zarah?
Did you not learn earlier in the Masechta?
That what?
About getting rid of the Yetzer Hara? It's in Sanhedrin. It's in
Oh,
the Masechta.
really? To remind me where?
Dalet. It's about getting rid of the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess Rav Ashi, I don't know, he wasn't holding in the same Masechta.
Don't remember. Look at that. Unbelievable. I got to do Zichra.
He has to come for the shiur.
Yeah. So I guess, Oh, Marley. So Menashe said, Ihavas Hasam, if you would have lived in my days, Havas Nekitna B'Shepuli Glima, for Rahatat Abasroi, you would have run after me because it wasn't a toos, it wasn't a logical calculation that I erred in. I made a mistake. That wasn't it.
It was just fun.
It was a temptation. It was the temptation of znust we have today, the temptation of Shmira. It was a temptation just like everybody else. The Sichas Musar, Chai Shmulevitz says over here in Or V'Choshech, he has a Maimer Yud Beis, the new prince of Sichas Musar. And he says that what Menashe told him, he says that it was a real burning Yetzer Hara. Yeah.
Lost control of himself.
It's hard to overcome. It's like a smoker. Somebody who knows, he reads the warning saying that it causes cancer and all kinds of stuff, and he still smokes. Why? Because there's a temptation. There's a real something that turns into an addiction. Anyway, so point is, this was the conversation between Rav Ashi and Menashe, and at the end, Lamacha, the next day, Amrul Arbana Niftach Barabbasa. Changes language and he says, let's darshan b'rabbiseinu and b'chavereinu. So here, the Magali Sayam, unbelievable, quotes a sefer saying a beautiful pshat in this Gemara. The sefer is Shara Yerushalayim, and he brings a Gemara in Erevin Daf Yotes. Gemara in Erevin Daf Yotes brings a memra of Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says that Rishoim, even al pischa shel gehenim, do not do tshuva. And where does he prove it from? He has a pasuk, and the pasuk that Rish Lakish quotes is a pasuk that talks about goy gemogig la'asid lavoi v'yatzu v'ro bepigrei anoshim hapoishim bi. So what does poishim mean? So we have a machlokas over here. What poishim means? Is poishim past tense, or is it even present future tense? Which one is it? So Rish Lakish says that poishim means even now, even as they're dying, they're still poishim as they're dying. How do we know it? So the Gemara says they know it, and Rav Kahana says no. Poishim means past tense. It must mean past tense. How do you know it means past tense? Because just like it says Hamoitzi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim, so Hamoitzi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim means what? Past tense or present tense and future tense? It means past tense. Hashem took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim, past tense. So Apoishim, by Gog and Magog, also means past tense. In other words, they could do tshuva in the present moment when they're dying. Rish Lakish says no. Hapoishim means even present tense. They're not going to do tshuva, even if they're al dichducha shalmavis. They're dying. So says Menashe to Rav Ashi, unbelievable. He says in brachas, Rav Ashi, who's Masadar the Gemara? Rav Ashi, right? Rav Ashi and Ravina were Masadar Shas. So he says, in brachas, there's a halacha, there's a whole shaila. What do you make on bread? Ha-moitzi lechem and arts or moitzi lechem and arts? The Gemara says, moitzi lechem and arts, everybody holds it's past tense. Right? Moitzi makes sense, because it was, when you're eating it, it's already taken out. It's already taken out of the ground. Whereas ha-moitzi is a shaila, big machlokes. The Rabbanan say, ha-moitzi is also past tense. Ha-moitzi is past tense, and that's why Hilchasa, we say ha-moitzi lechem and arts, because ha-moitzi means past tense, and it makes sense to say that language, to use that language.
Why not moitzi? Is it better to say moitzi?
Ha-moitzi is a machlokes, and it's better to say ha-moitzi to paskin like the Rabbanan. We show we're paskin like the Rabbanan.
Why are we going with the machlokas rather than like a song?
Great question. I don't know. It's a great question. Maybe because it matches the word of ha-moitzi eschem eretz Mitzrayim. That's where the proof is from. So either way, so the Gemara says, Menashe said to Rav Ashi, the pasuk that you're learning from, that I died without tshuva, is from hapoishim. You're translating hapoishim means present tense, that I died even now, even as I was dying, I died without tshuva. But you also pass and you say hamoitzi. Hamoitzi is past tense. You can't have it both ways. Hapoishim, if you say it's present tense, where do you learn it from? Moitzi eschem eretz Mitzrayim. But the word hamoitzi, when it comes to the bracha of hamoitzi, means past tense. You can't have it both ways. That's why he brings up the bracha of hamoitzi to Rav Ashi, because it's a contradiction in Rav Ashi himself. Very interesting. It's like a genius kind of chap in Shas to figure out why Rav Ashi and Menashe are talking about hamoitzi when really the conversation should be about whether he has a chiluk and olam haba.
Isn't hamoitzi like a present tense?
So the Gemara has either it's future tense,
Future meaning
it's future hamoitzi, yeah.
he's bringing.
Either it's future tense or it's present tense. The Gemara in Brachas Daf Chav Ches. Read you the Gemara. Gemara says like this. Gemara says
Isn't there something called past?
Lamed Ches. Excuse me. What?
There's another conjunction called past perfect. It's a combination of both.
Of both?
Yeah, because in Hebrew you have that option.
Uh-huh.
In
Uh-huh.
English,
It could be both.
Hamoitzi is, it would be correct.
see, Hamotzi, Kodesh Baruch continues.
Yeah.
He took out, and he continues to take out. So it has a dual implication.
Right.
The one who does this.
So then
Right.
machlokas-
By the way, Tosfos asks your question in Brachas, I'm noticing. Shmoli, why don't we say moitzi? There's no machlokas there. Why get involved in an argument? Very good. Okay, that's very proud. Yeah. He says because it's clear when you say hamoitzi, like ha'olam. So
There should
hamoitzi.
be a machlokas against.
Huh?
Then why does everyone go with might?
No, because otherwise it would sound like you say ha'olam moitzi. Ha'olam moitzi. Like it might sound like moitzi is going ha'olam. So you want to make like a comma so the hey of a moitzi says ha'moitzi lechem in aretz. It starts a new phrase. That's how Taisa says it. Yeah.
Mems would be attached.
Right. Otherwise it would be attached to ha'olam.
It's like a Grishma.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Grishma.
Right. Which ones? The mems that are together. Yeah. What do we do for that? You just have to be careful. Yeah, exactly.
You have to make
Yeah.
You have to make a
In the art school,
There's the lines in the arts go right.
make sure to pause.
Right. I had a Rebbe, used to come into class. I guess he was a little bit OCD. I mean, it was like when I was younger. And he would repeat Kriya Shema 1,000,000 times. I mean, it was like he would stand there, and he would and I still remember. I don't know. I was very young, and I couldn't understand at the time what he was doing. But he went like shh. He put his hand by the to make sure he's got the Shema and the Tizkiru, and kind of like it's overdoing it. But the idea of you have to be careful for sure, but not overly careful. Yeah.
that's if you did it all the other mitzvahs too.
Right.
Because by Krishma is a very big dogish.
Right.
But the other mitzvahs you may not have the same. So
Correct. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Zug the Gemara weiter. Okay. We're going weiter. Achav, ochla shemayim v'av lavedis kechavim. It's so interesting how the Gemara keeps darshaning these names and says names that their father gave them almost forebode what their destiny would be. Achav is called because achla shemayim va'av lavedis kechavim. Achla shemayim is the chesiv achla tzara yivaled. When we use the word ach, it's in the context of pain, right? And interesting, I got to tell that to my brother. And av lavedis kechavim the chesiv karachim av albanim. Av is he loved lavedis kechavim. So ach la shemayim to Hashem he was a pain. In other words, he rejected, he rebelled against Hashem, and it was Av Levedes Kechavim. The Averis Kalis that Achav did later on, when Achav was king, Melech Yisrael, right, were equal to the Averis Chamuras that Yeravam did. In other words, Yeravam put 2 Eglezav, one by Beisel and one by Dan. Achav was Moisef, and we'll see how much Avodah Zarah was in times of Achav. Moisef a lot more than Yeravam. Why, when we talk about Achav, do we hang the Avodah Zarah Aveira, the Aveira Zarah in Yeravam, right? Because it says over there, Achav loisar mikol chatas Yeravam. He didn't stray from all the Averas Yeravam. He followed his path. So why are we toilet in Yeravam if he was worse? The answer is Neshuhua Yatchilu Lekalkala, because he was the first one to be mekalkal his ways. Yeravim was the very first king, Melech Yisrael, that led Am Yisrael astray. Says the Gemara weiter, Gam es b'choisem kegalim al talmei sodoi. It says over there, when they did Avodah Zarah, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, ein l'chot kol telem v'telem b'etzil shlehem v'al v'achav v'zikav v'shtach v'loi. There was mamish no telem. A telem is like a pile of dirt. When you do charisha, when you plow the ground, so you have these piles of dirt. You can count how many Avodah Zarah. If you just counted the pile of dirt, that's how many Avodah Zarahs was in the days of Achav. And how do we know that Achav does not have a chelik l'olam haba? It says in the pasuk in Nevuas Eliyahu Novi, when he prophesies to Achav b'dvar Hashem, he says v'chrati la'achav mashtem bekir v'otzer v'ozav b'Yisrael otzer ba'olam hazeh. You'll be held back from olam hazeh v'ozav la'olam haba, and Hashem will forsake you in olam haba. Omer Rabbi Yochanan v'mazocha Omri lamalchus. Why was Omri zoicha to malchus? Right, Omri was the father. So Gemara says, "Nishahoysev krach echad b'Yisrael be'Eretz Yisrael shenemar v'yikan asar shemrim es shemer b'chikrayim kosav even asar v'yika shemer shabon Hashem shemer adonai here ahar shemrain." Because he expanded Eretz Yisrael. He was moisef one city, one krach on Eretz Yisrael, so he was zoicha lamalchus because of that. Amr Rabbi Yochanan mazach la'achav lamalchus esem shtayim shana. Why was Achav zoicha to a malchus of 22 years? Mipnei shekibed es haTorah shenitnu be'esrim shtayim oisius. He was mechaber the Torah that was given with 22 aleph beis, with the aleph beis. Hashem paid him back, gave him 22 years of melucha. Shenemar. It says, "Vayishlach malachim malachav melech Yisrael le'ira, vayir melekamer ben Adad." They sent messengers to Achav melech Yisrael. They said, "Koymer ben Adad, melech Aram, kaspach zahav chalihu. I want your money. Onashecha b'necha toivim liam. I want your wives and your children. Kim ke'eis mocher eshlach hasavoda elecha. I'll send my servants to you. V'chipsas beischa. They'll do an investigation. They'll do a raid. Anything that their eyes desire, they put their hands on it and they'll take it. He said, I can tell you whatever you sent me in the first delegation, with the first delegation, to give you my money, my wives, my sons. Okay. But to give the machmar that I can't do. I can't do that. My machmar anecha, what's the machmar anecha that we're referring to over there? Lav, Sefer Torah. That means that Achav was Mesarev. He really rejected Ben Hadad's command to give him even the Sefer Torah that he has. He said that I cannot give you. I can give you my wife, give you my sons. I can't give you the Sefer Torah. Yeah? It sounds like Loit, very reminiscent. It echoes Loit, what Loit said to Bnei Zdaim. I can give you my daughters, I can give you my family. I can't give you my guests. Yeah, I can't give you the guests.
Because the king has a mitzvah carrying him all times the Sefer Torah, right?
Yes, yeah. So he didn't want to give him that Sefer Torah that he's supposed to carry. Yeah, but it's just Minei Bay. He's giving up his kids. Yeah, he's that his family. I don't have a problem. Yeah, but he's still. It's amazing how Hashem is medaktik. He rewarded him for that. Hagamit was twisted. There was a twist there. He's able to give up his dad, but okay. Gemara says Dilma Avodas Kochavim. Maybe the Machmar Anecha was Avodas Kochavim. Says the Gemara Lo Yisrael Gedaytich. Don't think it's Avodas Kochavim. T'chsev Hayom Me'elav Kol Haskeinu V'Chol Ha'am Al Tishma V'Lo Toiva. He said. Everybody said, don't listen to the Melech Hadad. So who were they? They were the Zgenim. The Zgenim means that they were the elders. They were tzaddikim, and it can't be that the Zgenim were saying it about Avodah Zarah, right? Don't listen to him to give him the Avodah Zarah. They would have endorsed. Give him the Avodah Zarah. Send it to Melech Hadad. No problem. How do you know the Zkenim were tzaddikim? Maybe there was Zkenim shefalim. There were Shayim. Gemara says Miloi Ksiv Vayishar Adover Be'enei Avshalom Ve'enei Kol Ziknei Yisrael V'Amar Rav Yosef Savad Avasa. Doesn't it say by Avshalom the word Zkenim, and over there it means there were Shayim? So how do you know over here by Achav you're proving that it was a Sefer Torah because the Zkenim said don't send it? Maybe the Zkenim were Shayim and it was referring to Avodah Zarah. Gemara says also Amloi Ksiv V'Chol Ha'am. Over there it doesn't say V'Chol Ha'am Hacha Ksiv V'Chol Ha'am. It was the entire nation said that. The Iyaf Shedloev Ben Tzaddik. It's not possible that if it's V'Chol Ha'am, you're including everybody, that part of that were tzaddikim. So if there were tzaddikim who said don't send it, that means it must have been a Sefer Torah. If it would have been Avodah Zarah, they would have said sent it. How do we know the part of the nation were tzaddikim? Because it says not everybody served the Nevi'ah Abal. So if it says v'chol said don't send it, must be there were tzaddikim involved, tzaddikim included. And tzaddikim included must be it was a Sefer Torah that he refused to send, and therefore he was rewarded 22 years of Malchus because the Sefer Torah is written with 22 letters of the Aleph Beis. Omer Rav Nachman, Achav Shokol Haya. Achav was mechza and mechza. He was equal in his aveirus and his mitzvahs. Very difficult Gemara on the surface. Shenemar v'yomer Hashem, mi yefate es Achav v'yal v'yipol b'romas gilad v'yomer zeh b'koi v'zeh b'koi. Hashem wanted, he asked in Shemayim, he wants to punish Achav, but it's a problem. He's a Beinani. He's half and half. I need somebody to tip the scale to get him to do one more aveira. The Gemara says, Mazel for Yosef, man dechsiv bei. On a person that it says, Rak lohoya ka'achav asher smaku las b'shem. Nobody was like Achav, such a Rasha. Asher esatoi says Evel Ishtoi, that his wife is Evel seduced him. V'tanina b'chol yoyim ha'shekela shiklei zov letzchav. Every day they would be sheikel, they would weigh shiklei zov for avodas chav. V'at omer chokol hoy, and you're telling me that he was half mitzvahs, half averis, that he was a Beinani? How could it even be? Says the Gemara, no. Elo Achav vatrin b'mamayna hoya. Really, Achav was a vatrin b'mamayna. Really, he was a Rasha Marusha. He was 99.9% bad. So what was the 0.1% he had going for him? He was a vatrin, but he was a generous guy. He was generous with his money. And because he gave some money to Talmidei Chachamim, they're mechaper chatzi aveinoisav, and therefore it was hard to punish him because that was Megan, that protected him, and that wiped his slate clean to the point where he was half mitzvahs and half averis. That is a very difficult Gemara for very many reasons, and we'll just quote a few. The Margolis Hayam, or Bruv Margolis, says that we know there's a klal, a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perik Dal Mishnah Chav Beis. It says, Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be blessed, she'ein lefanav loy, avelav l'shikach l'masaponim, v'loy mekach shoichid. Hashem does not accept shoichid. So the Rambam in Pirush HaMishnah says, what do you mean? Hashem should accept shoichid? What kind of shoichid would Hashem accept? It's like even silly to say it. Hashem doesn't accept shoichid. Can you give money to Hashem? So what does it mean Hashem doesn't accept shoichid? Says the Rambam, what the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos means, Hashem doesn't take mitzvahs of a person as shoichid to wipe away averis. Hashem doesn't do that. It's not what Hashem does. In other words, if he has 1,000 mitzvahs, right, and he has one aveira, he'll take one of the 1,000 mitzvahs, now he'll have 999, and the aveira will cancel, the aveira and the mitzvah will cancel each other out. Hashem does not do that. He's not a lekeach shoichid. And we have that in the Ramban, that he does tshuva shleima.
His Nezidim become no, they revert to total schuyas.
Right. But there he's charata kabbalah al-ased. There's a process in how you can turn around the averis into mitzvahs. But let's say a person is mazana, and then he donates money to a Sefer Torah in a shul, or he cheats in a business deal. Let's go even better than that, yeah. And he makes money a shaloyal pitayra, and then he uses that money to go and donate and give a beautiful shalashudis. Huh?
They don't net each other out.
They don't cancel. They don't net each other out.
They're completely different accounts.
Completely different accounts. So the question becomes, it's very difficult to understand. It says in the pasuk l'mashal ki ata teshalem leish kemaseyu. You pay back every person kemaseyu, whatever their actions were. If it was mitzvahs, averis, there's no such thing with Hashem where He favors you and you're able to do that. So the kasha becomes a very big question. The question becomes, if Achav was 99.9% the Rasha, and he had one mitzvah going for him, he was a vatrin b'mamoinoi, he was generous with his money, as ma'ana talmidei chachamim min. How could it be all of a sudden his slate was wiped clean, all the averis were wiped clean? It's a starke kasha. Not sure what the answer to that is. I was just thinking about it. Message.
Yeah. Between the Rambam and Yashi, what the pshat is over there. person does one mitzvah b'sholem,
Yes.
that gives him like a ticket. That's according to Rambam.
I love that.
That's machlokas from Rambam and Rashi.
Very nice.
Right?
Very nice. Very nice. Very interesting you're saying that, because there's a Gemara on Avodah Zarah, and this is where the Rambam comes from, by the way. That Rambam at the end of Makkos that says that Lefikach Hirbelem Torah mitzvahs. Hashem gave us a lot of mitzvahs because if we just do one mitzvah, B'leiv Shalom, that's our ticket to Olam Haba. He gave us 613, so at least we'll get one. Maybe we'll hope, in the hopes we'll get one right. That's the Rambam learns. It's like the Drashos around brings him. He argues, but one of the proofs he has is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Yud Ches. The Gemara has a story. Chanina ben Tradian came into Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, his Rebbe. His Rebbe was on his deathbed. And he says, Rebbe, Mo ani l'chaya olam haba. Am I going to be deserving of chaya olam haba? Big question. What does it mean? Mo ani l'chaya olam haba. Rechim Rashad didn't know. You know who Rechim Rashad's son-in-law was? Reb Meir Balanes. His daughter was Bruria. You think he didn't know if he's a ben olam haba or not? Okay, very difficult question. But I think that Tanya, somebody showed me L'kutei Mamarim deals with it. Anyway, point is, his Rebbe said, give me one mitzvah that you did. Unbelievable. Give me one mitzvah. And the Gemara goes on. He says, I think I have one mitzvah. He says, one day on Purim, had money, 2 pockets. One was Matanos Lavyonim, and one was my own money. And he says that Nischalfuli ma'oisai. They were exchanged. I mixed it up. And what I did was, I gave it all to tzedakah. So he says, wow, vatrin b'mamoincha. Mamish, the similar lashon to this Gemara. It's amazing. Vatrin b'mamoincha. You're a vatrin b'mamoincha. You go straight into, yes. You should tehei chelkiyim chelkach. I think Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said to him in that Gemara. So what do you see from here? Also a very similar concept with a very similar mitzvah, and the Rambam brings that Gemara to show that one mitzvah, if you do it b'shleimus, and that's where the Tanya comes in. He says, what's pshat? He was malamet Torah b'rabim. He was moiser nefesh, and that wasn't enough. The answer is, it could be that it was easy for him. He loved Torah. He got covered with it. We never know the netiyas and the pnius of a person. But when you do it privately, it's neschalfel chamoisecha. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows about it. And you did it anyway. That's a sign you did it b'shleimus, and that's how I know you have a chelik of baba. So the doctor is saying, which could be a very good answer, that it didn't cancel it out. But if he had one mitzvah b'shleimus, then he had already, according to the Rambam, that ticket to olam haba. Very interesting. Yes.
And so the way he handled his
Kisoy.
that showed his real panini.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Part of his panemius was good. Yeah.
He says the Shema V'Hayim Shema, he was a very rich guy, wasn't from.
Yeah.
He said, it says, V'Hayim Shema, he says, Navachar Hashem, V'Hayim V'Asam Shema. He says, look, I'm a very wealthy man, I don't know how to reconcile.
Yeah.
So the Shema told him, he says, you obviously said Shema once, you knew that. For that alone, you should deserve much more than you have already.
Wow. That's gewaldig. I love that. I love that. I saw a medrash, just Edward is go weiter. I saw a medrash last night. I'm on a high from this medrash. I cannot, it's unbelievable. Preparing for Pesach, so we say shiur shirim at the end of the Seder, and there's one line of the medrash that says, Shchayra ani v'nova, b'nai Yisrael, Shchayra ani v'nova. So the medrash rabbah says, what, is a song about that?
Black but beautiful, yeah?
Oh yeah? I don't know that song. Okay, we'll play it on the edit. We'll put it in a... Yeah.
I wish I had a line.
We'll do it Raveli Stransky style. So, the Medrash says, unbelievable. It says, Shchayra ani v'nava. A person, Shchayra ani be'enei atzmi. A person walks around in this world and he thinks, Shchayra ani be'enei atzmi. I'm dirty in my eyes. I'm not, worthy, so to speak. I feel inadequate. But v'nava be'enei kaini. In the eyes of my Creator, I am beautiful. So, the idea of a person could be like Achav, but he has one mitzvah, it could be beautiful in the eyes of Hashem, that could be his ticket. Like you're saying, that could be, it's not a cancellation, that's the idea. Okay, big chizik. Either way, here we're talking about the ruach that came out of man. Hashem is saying, I need to punish Achav, I can't punish him. He's a vatrim b'mamoinoi. He's like chetzi chai v'chetzi zakai. I don't know what to do with him. Somebody's got to seduce him to tip the scale so I can punish him. This is the conversation Hashem has in Shemayim. So Gemara says, Vayetze ruach v'yamad l'fnei Hashem v'yom ani afatenu v'yom Hashem elav bamo. This ruach, the spirit, comes out of nowhere. It says Hashem, I'm going to seduce Achav. I'll take care of him. He says, how are you going to do it? Vayom eitze v'yisi ruach sheker b'fi kol neviyav. I will seduce him through his nevi'ah sheker. I'll basically be the ruach that's going to overtake them, and they're going to speak sheker, and they're going to mislead him. Vayomer tefata v'gam tuchal tzei v'asei kain. Get out of here. Hashem says, do it, but get out of here. You can't be my mechitza because my choisam is emes, and you're going to say sheker. Gemara says, my ruach, which ruach would want to do that at the price of having to leave the mechitza of Hashem? You know, you're going to go say sheker, right? Mislead Achav, so Achav can get punished. Who are you? Who is this? What's your name, ruach? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you his name. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Ruchai Shal Novas Yisraeli. This ruach was Novas Yisraeli. Who killed Novos? Achav. He wanted his kerem. He wanted his vineyard. The whole story. So the ruach of Novos, we learned it earlier, Mo. You were here, right? In that shiur. Yeah, we learned this Gemara.
He didn't go up to the other regel, remember?
Which was that? Yeah. Because you said then he didn't go up to Elil Regel. I remember. Yes. Yeah. So over here, it's amazing that even after a person dies, we spoke about it, there is still this need to take revenge. The ruach of Navas, the spirit of Navas couldn't rest. It's like the blood of Zechariah. We said Zechariah's blood was boiling in the Beis Hamikdash for hundreds of years until the Vizradin came. He killed almost 1 million Jews to try to calm it down. There is a spirit that's alive after a person dies and needs to exact a revenge. So this is what Nova is dead said. I'll take revenge. I'll seduce him. Amar Ravina, Hashem said, "Say memchitzasi." You can go do it, but you have to leave. Amar Rav Papa says, "Hainu da'amri inchi the parakine." Somebody who is angry and wants to take revenge, machriv beis destroys his own house. Meaning, even in this world, don't do that. Don't act out of revenge, out of spite, because you'll destroy your house. This is what the Ruach did to himself in Shemayim. He destroyed his mechitza, his house, so to speak, because he needed to go take revenge from Achav. Achav did more to anger Hashem Elokei Yisrael from all the malachim previously. He wrote on the doors of Shomron, Achav cover Elokei Yisrael. Achav is kafir, rebelled and denied Elokei Yisrael. Now the grandson of Achav, his name is Achaziohu, and over here it says also he was tremendous Rasha, like his grandfather. He was erasing the names of Hashem. He was erasing the names of Hashem in the Sefer Torah, and he was writing the names of Avodah Zarah. How many names of Hashem is there in the Sefer Torah? Let's go with Yud Kei Vav Kei. Anybody know a number here? How many names? He was erasing the names of Hashem. I'll tell you something. You take it with you for Pesach. There's a Shem Ayin Beis, the 72, name of 72. Yeah. But how many times Yud Kei Vav Kei in the Torah? You're not going to believe it. It's going to be amazing, right? We're into numbers, especially Pesach night, right? Echad miyadeya, shnayim miyadeya. We go from 1 to 13. I'm going to give you a number. You're not going to know this number. 10,000, right? That's you're going to say 10,000. It's the exact
718.
718. Nah, you got to go much higher. So it's the exact number of words we have in Magid from Holach Ma'anya to Gol Yisrael. Every word in Magid in the Haggadah corresponds to the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay? So how many is it? 1,820. 1820. It's not the year that Antarctica was discovered. It's 1,820. It's the number of times Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei. By the way, why? Why that name? Because Paroi denied the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. He says, Mi Hashem Asher Eshma B'Koilei. He said, Lakim, yeah, Lakim I know. God who created the world and lets nature run its course, that I don't deny. Paroi didn't deny that. Yosef taught him that word, by the way, Lakim. But Yud Kei Vav Kei, that he denied, and that's why every word in the story of the Haggadah is to reinforce our faith that Hashem is involved in every detail of our lives. By the way, one more, and this is amazing. You got to fasten your seatbelt to this. How many words, if you count from Parshas Vayetze to the end of Parshas Vayechi, every conversation the Shvatim had from Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, you add up all the words till Yosef HaTzadik, all the way to the end of Vayechi, you come to 1,820 words. The amount of times Yud Kei Vav Kei is in the Torah. To tell you, you think we went out to Mitzrayim a mistake because they sold Yosef and Mitzrayim. It's all part of the master plan. Every conversation that took place there is Torah. But either way, what did he do? The grandson of Achav erased Yud Kei Vav Kei. He erased the Shemus in the Torah, replaced them with the Shemus of Avodah Zarah. Yes?
How did Yosef teach Paro this? Some say that it was a new Paro.
Right. It's a great question. Great question. Yeah. Right. So it was a new Paro. I guess it was already part of the culture. In other words, they accepted
Everyone
it.
agrees it was a new paro.
Nobody nuts. Machlekes. Rav and Shmuel. Yeah, machlekes. Yeah, it's not so pashut. Yeah. Says the Gemara weiter. Menashe. Why was he called Menashe? Again, we're darshaning the names of these Rishayim, these kings. Shenosha Ka. Because he forgot Hashem. Dover Acha Menashe Shehinchi Yisrael Aviv Shavai made Klal Yisrael forget Hashem. And Merod L'Osal Al Medas. Had no Menashe does not have a chilik in Olam Haba. T'chsiv ben Shtei Mesr Shana Menashe b'Molchai. He was 12 years old when he became king. And he was king for 55 years. Vayas Asherah Kasher Osa Achav Melech Yisrael. He did an Asherah. Now, the Navi compares him to Achav. He did an Asherah like Achav. Ma Achav ein l'chelik l'olam haba, af Menashe ein l'chelik l'olam haba. The Navi compares Menashe to Achav, must be that Menashe doesn't have a chelik l'olam haba. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Menashe yesh lo chelik l'olam haba. Shenemar v'yispalel elov v'yayoser loi. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. He does have a chelik l'olam haba. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, shneim b'krei echad dorshu. Shenemar v'nesatim l'zavo l'chamam l'chas ha'orz b'glam Menashe ben Yechizkiah. Marsa b'glam Menashe asa tshuva v'inu lo yavod. They didn't do tshuva. Only Menashe did. Mar Savar and Tanakama learns, no. Beglal Menashe deloy ova tshuva. They copied Menashe's example. They didn't do tshuva because of Menashe. Okay, so that is the idea that Menashe did tshuva. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Amr Menashe and Chilek Olam Haba, Merapi Yidei Shabbal tshuva. Anyone who says Menashe doesn't have a Chilek Olam Haba, then he is discouraging Bali tshuva. You know why? Because Bali tshuva will say, look, Menashe did tshuva, and he doesn't have a Chilek Olam Haba. Why should I do tshuva? So he's discouraging, don't say that. The Tani time comes to Rabbi Yochanan, Menashe also tshuva shloshim v'shalosh shanim. The last 33 years of his life, Menashe did tshuva. T'chsiv ben shteim asher shana Menashe b'molchai. T'chamishim v'chamish shana molech b'Yerushalayim v'yas ha'sheirek asher osach melech Yisrael. He was 12 years old, and then he was molech 55 years. Kam b'molech Achav. Like Achav, how many years did Achav rule? Esther Matat and 22. Menashe kam molech 55. So do the math. Dalmanai Esther Matat and take away 22, which he was like Achav. Pashlut Tosnet plus 33 years, which he did Shuva. Omer Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Shem Eichoy Mai Dechsiv Vayish Me'elo Vayichaser Loi Vayeoser Loi Me'boyle. It should have said Hashem listened to him, right? Vayeoser is a lotion from accepting a tefillah. Why is it Vayechaser with a ches? Malam Echos LaKadosh Baruch Hu Kamin Machteres Berakia Kedab Kedelakabla B'Tshuva Nei Midas Adin. The Midas Adin didn't want him to do tshuva, and yet Hashem, he drilled a hole, so to speak, like in a tunnel. He made a tunnel in the Rakia, so Menashe can come through the back door. Unbelievable. You know, Menashe was such a Rasha in the beginning. He killed his own grandfather, Yeshaya Navi. He killed a Navi, right? Imagine, we killed Zechariah and 1 million people die. He killed Yeshayahu Navi, not his grandfather. He killed him. And yet, according to this Gemara, he was able to do tshuva. And it reminded me of the Gemara we learned earlier. Who else did tshuva and became a ger tzedek? I just can't get over that Gemara. It was the general who destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash. What was his name? Nevuzaradan, right? Nevuzaradan, right? He was the general of Nebuchadnezzar, and he killed 1 million. Gemara makes a cheshbon, 940,000 Jews. He slaughtered 940,000 Jews. And why did he slaughter them? Because he saw that the blood of Zechariah was boiling. So he wanted to have the, he's like, come on, calm down. He wasn't calming down. He told the blood, he says, if you don't calm down, I'm killing everybody. So calm down. And they realized, oh my goodness, they kill one Navi, and the einish is 1 million Jews get killed because of it. Here, tshuva belibe. He says, how am I going to be punished? I killed 1 million Jews. What are they going to do to me? So he ran away, and he was Megayer. I always wanted to know which Bezdin was Megayer to Bezradin. Imagine Hitler comes to a Bezdin and says, I want Geirus. We're going to kill him. I mean, who would be Megayer, a guy like Nebuzaradan, a general, destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, killed 1 million Jews, and yet the Gemara says it's Mavel Ryan. Hira tshuva belibai. He had a hira tshuva, and Gemara tonu rabbanon. Naaman ger toishavoya, Nebuzaradan ger tzedek hoya. He was a ger tzedek. Ger tzedek. Unbelievable. And here we have Menashe, killed his grandfather, killed the Navi, did Avodah Zarah 22 years. How many people is Chayte Amachti? And here we have HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a tunnel.
Stalin had a Jewish right-hand man, Laser Kagan, I think his name was.
Okay.
And they told the Rebbe that they found him, he was alive in an apartment in his 90s. And he killed millions of people. He was he killed his own family. Everyone.
Who is this guy?
Laser Kagan, I believe his name was. Something to that effect.
He was like a capo?
He was Stalin's right-hand man. And the Rebbe, I never heard the Rebbe say he's either a Russia or Russia Gomer. We should try to see if he do true before he passes away.
The Rebbe said you should see if you could do
true.
tshuva.
There's either Russia or Russia Gomer, one of the two. And someone should try to see if he could do true before he passes away.
Wow. Wow. Do you have it documented? Is this
Written into Dushkin's book.
okay? I have it at home. I'm gonna go look at it.
But
Wow,
Stalin,
unbelievable.
Stalin's anti-Semite, no?
That was anti-everyone.
Unbelievable.
Was Vayanel Jewish?
He says, make sure he does tshuva. Unbelievable.
He did tshuva for murder.
He didn't see his own brother.
If the Jewish guy was also
It's a big shiloh. In other words, how do you do tshuva?
A lot of those.
Did Cain do tshuva? Cain killed Hevel. The first Aveira in the Torah was murder. The Cain.
Second of Aaron's.
He says, God Lavonim Minasai. He's one of the three people that were Meretzeach Hashem. We learned this just now. Yeah? What?
He gave him a dog. That's the Irish.
Yes.
He put a sign on
The sign on his head, yeah.
That was the kill.
Well, he eventually got punished still.
Eventually he was killed, I think. That Shivasayim, is...
And all of his children were
Who? Hevel didn't have any, but Cain's children were also killed?
Yeah.
Oh yeah? Is all of his... Okay. Okay, I have to look it up in passing the Torah. I'm going to just edit out my ignorance over here afterwards, yeah?
Who are we born from?
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle's chilling.
Could be already... Yeah, so who's... No, Adam had more kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A very good question. No, he's not playing around. V'omer Rabbi Yochanan b'Shimshim b'Yochai. My dechsib bereishis mamlechas Yokim ben Yeshayahu. Ksib bereishis mamlechas Tzidki v'Chiyadin elav malcha. Why is it bereishis? Bereishis sounds like this was tchila of malchus to begin with. Like that was the beginning of malchus. It's not true. There are malachim acherim. There are other malachim that came before them. Elo because HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'achzir sa'olam kula toiv v'voyu. There was a moment where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to destroy the world. B'shvil Yayakim, nistakel b'doiroi. Hashem looked at the generation of Yayakim. He saw tzaddikim and Askara died till he calmed down. B'ksh HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'achzir sa'olam kula toiv v'voyu b'shvil doir shel Tzidkiya. Tzidkiya was a tzaddik, but his generation were Rishoyim. Nistakel b'Tzidkiya and Askara died. In other words, one time it was the citizens that were tzaddikim and the king that was a Rosh, and the other time it was the other way around. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was happy with one. But Tzidkiya Namiksiv Yasra Be'inei Hashem. Tzidkiya was not even a tzaddik. It says he did the Ra. Gemara says no, he wasn't really a Rasha. But Shahoya B'Yodei Limcha is V'lei Micha. That's why he it said about him Yasra Be'inei Hashem. V'Amar Rabbi Yechshem Shem Achai. Ma'idachsiv Ish Chachem Nishpat Ish Evel V'Rog Is V'Zachim Ve'in Achaz. Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu Ka'aste Al Achaz. I was angry at Achaz. Yeah, Melech Yehuda. Who was Achaz? Achaz the father of Chizkiyahu. And Sata biyad Malchi Damesek. Zibach v'kitul lehem shnema v'izbach lei Damesek amakim b'v'yamar b'yelei Malchi Aram ma'azer moisim lemazabeach v'yazruni v'moil l'achshil chal Yisrael sechakti amatziyam, and I smiled for Amatziyam and Asati Malchi Edom b'yodoi, and I allowed him to beat and to win over Malchi Edom. What did he do? He took their gods and he bowed to them. In other words, Kadosh Baruch Hu is lamenting that it seems no matter what I do, I try to take a melech Rasha and I'm angry with him. And what do? I put him into the hands of Damesek. I try to give him Yisurim, and he doesn't get the message. And then I try to do it the other way around. I try to smile on him and I make him win. So he still does Avodah Zarah. So whichever way I go, Hashem says, I feel like I'm being unsuccessful. Omer Papa Haindar Me'inchi B'chai le'lamar de lo yoda Chayche lamar de lo yoda Vayla lamar de lo yoda ben tav levish. What does it mean? I cry over a master who doesn't pay attention, and I smile over a master who doesn't pay attention. It's woe is to the master that doesn't know between good and bad. It seems like Rav Papa is always the one who says Hainu da Amri Inchi. I tried to look up exactly why Rav Papa is the one that always comments. After we see a Gemara and learn a lesson based on Novi, he drives it home with, that's the saying. Okay, I'm not sure. We were talking about when they penetrated the Chayma Seir, when they came from Bavel to Yerushalayim, and it says, "Vayesh b'shar tovech." What's shar tovech? Amr b'yoichem shemshmei choyim makom shemechatchen b'yalochas. It's the place, the Harabais and the Azara, where you have the Batei Dinim. Earlier in Sanhedrin we said, right, there were 3 Batei Dinim in the Pesach Azara, the Pesach Harabais, and then the Lishkas Hagazas. So this is called the Shara Tovach. This is where halachas came out. Amar Papa Haidar Me'inchi Be'asr Demar Tlola Zainai Taman Kul Be'Roya Kul Tetla. This is what people say, that the guy, the Roya, the low-class person, comes into the palace and uses the hook of his master to master used to hang up his weapon, he now hangs up his stick. And that's what happened with the Beis HaMikdash. And the place where you had Batei Dinim, now the Babylonians occupied those spaces. He was an otzel. He was lazy from learning Torah, and he was mevatel avodah the Beis Hamikdash. He raised the names of Hashem in the Sefer Torah and mevatel avodah. The son of Menashe. And why? Because in his days the Mizbeach stood barren, and you had mamish spider webs all over. It was old and it was just laid there doing nothing. Because upon Charulam Zayirakim that he was mechasa the panim ma'irish lakadosh baruch hu. The gather avon of Nerasa Tzidkiyo shenecher Beis Hamikdash biyamav. V'amar Rav Chizda, last one. Amar Ibirim ba'aba arba kitais ein makablos pnei Ashchina. 4 groups are not makabel pnei Ashchina. Kat leitzim, kat shakronim, kat chanefim, kat mesaper lashon hara. Kat leitzim dechsiv mashach yodai esloitzitzim. Hashem removed, he pulled back from people who are leitzim. Kat shakronim dechsiv dovish shkarim lo yikon leged einai. From shkarim also he says lo yikon leneged einai. I don't want to see them in front of my eyes. Kat chanefim dechsiv kiloi lefanav chanef yavai. You can't appear before Hashem if you're a machnif, right? Kat mesaper lashon hara dechsiv kiloi el chafetz resha oto lo yigur chara tzadik ato v'lo yeh b'megur chara. We'll stop over here. I just want to wish a mazel tov to Mo. Big mazel tov for the boy bayoyim of Gabe. I heard you spoke beautifully. Shmuley told me over what you said this morning. The story that you said, by the way, about the shidduch. Yeah, you said over that that shidduch. So I met that. I interviewed that guy. That story. Yeah. I was fascinated by that story years ago. You know the story with the guy who was under the collar was already under the chuppah. She was waiting for the chassan to come down and to do kedushin, and the chassan got cold feet. And Rabbi Chaim Sonnenfeld, is that how you said it over? Chaim Sonnenfeld was Masada Kedushin. And he said, any guy here who will take the chassan's place and be Mekadosh, remember that story? I put it out. Never heard the story? He says, I promise him a good life, with a good and long life, with 5 generations. I think he told 5 he says, you'll see Doiris Yisham Rachim. Huh? I don't know, because he wanted to prevent it from embarrassment. It was mamish a busha. One guy piped up. He heard it. He said, "I'll do it." He got the chassan and kala in a private setting, couple of minutes. She agreed. He agreed, and I interviewed their grandson. Lives in Eretz Yisrael, and he told me that they both lived over 100 years. And they just passed away recently. And he had told me, he took pictures, and they had the most incredible shalom bayis, and all the kids, the grandkids are all mamish, Doiris Yishar Mavrachim, just like Rabbi Chaim Sonnenfeld was promised. Ize simcha, what did I miss? What? You just became a chassid? Tonight?
Let's actually get a camera.
Mazel tov, simen tov, yeilanu v'chol Yisrael. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yeilanu v'chol Yisrael. Hey, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yeilanu v'chol Yisrael. Hey, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yeilanu v'chol Yisrael. Hey, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yeilanu v'chol Yisrael.